Today I am going to review the trailer for the Steve Jobs biopic, Jobs. I want to point out before we start the trailer, look at the resemblance between young Steve Jobs and Ashton Kutcher. It's uncanny.
Steve, it takes guts to drop out like you did.
Higher education comes at the expense of experience.
Boss!
What are you working on?
It's a computer terminal that hooks up to the TV for the display.
Steve?
Wow. These are state of the art. Nobody's making anything like this. All right, okay.
Welcome to Apple Computer.
I like the fact that they are addressing that Apple did not start out as this big multinational corporation. It started out as just a business out of his home, and that's really what they're showing. And then it launched up and it became this multinational corporation like it is today.
Is this everything? Startup.
I think we should start with around 90 grand.
Could you repeat that?
If you'll have me aboard.
Trust me, I'm my INDEPENDENT.
Apple Incorporated went public this morning.
Chasing dreams since I was 4.
So here we see that in the movie they're going to show the rise of Steve Jobs and the rise of Apple. And also in this one part of the trailer, there is probably one of the most epic walks I've ever seen. Just walking. He's walking, and it looks epic. And it goes by pretty quick. You probably noticed it, though, because of the way it looks, but it does go by pretty quick. So I'm going to slow it down, and I'm going to show it to you now. Wow, that is an epic walk.
Can't stop me.
We gotta make the small things unforgettable.
Typeface isn't a pressing issue. Get out.
Now, this is one scene in the trailer that I really like. I think it really shows a lot about his personality, about Steve Jobs' personality. You see him suggest something. The guy says, "We shouldn't focus on typeface. That's not important." And Steve Jobs says, "Get out." Because, I mean, apparently Steve Jobs was the type of guy who wanted to do things his way. And I completely understand that because, yeah, he started the company, you know? He's the founder. He should want to do things his way. If he didn't, I'd be very worried. But I remember also reading somewhere a while back, before Steve Jobs sadly died, but I remember reading somewhere that he was the person that really made typeface a big deal and a thing. And they're obviously going to address that in this movie, and created all the different typefaces. And if you don't know what typeface is, it's the font. So you go in, you select the font. There's Arial, Helvetica. You know, there's different fonts.
He's trying to start a war with IBM.
Steve's been doing the impossible ever since he was in a garage.
I'm trying to build an Apple, and they're taking it away from me.
If you keep heading down this path, I will not protect you. It's a blatant ripoff.
I'm gonna sue you for every cent.
Wow. Just wow. I mean, this scene proves that Ashton Kutcher is a good actor. I've never been the biggest fan of Ashton Kutcher as an actor. I think he's funny. I think he's a great comedian. But I've never been the biggest fan of him as like a real dramatic actor, you know? And in this scene, we see that, wow, he can be. Look, let me show you this scene again.
I'm gonna sue you for every
Again,
cent.
wow. I mean, you really see the anger in this scene. I mean, coming from him, the anger. And there's one more scene that shows he's an actor, a great actor. Let me show you that
Trying to
scene.
build an Apple, and they're taking it away
And
from
in
me.
the scene I just showed you, you really see the pain in him. Like, he makes his voice crack in that scene. And you hear the pain that he's getting Apple taken away from him. You feel that. You feel his pain.
You are your own worst enemy.
The board is unanimous. Steve will no longer be involved in this company.
We not only get to see the rise of Steve Jobs, but we get to see the fall as well. There was once a time where Steve Jobs was not involved in Apple and did not have any say-so in Apple whatsoever because guess what? He got fired. Steve Jobs did not like John Sculley, who was the CEO of Apple at the time. And there was a big power struggle, and the board of directors sided with Scully, and Jobs was forced to resign. And Steve Jobs did leave the company, but he created two little companies you might have heard of, Pixar and NEXT or Next.
10 years after Steve Jobs' departure, the future of Apple Computer is in jeopardy.
In life, you only get to do so many things. We're gonna make Apple cool again.
So now after he left, we get to see him 10 years later, and he returns to Apple, and eventually becomes the CEO of Apple. And he, like he said, I'm going to make Apple cool again. And he did. He made Apple cool again.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
If we're gonna do this thing, we need to come up with a name. Apple. That is so much better than phaser beam computers.
Overall, I think this movie looks very, very good. I think it looks great. This trailer really, really shows a lot. And it doesn't really show a lot. I mean, it shows where this movie is going to take Steve Jobs. And it does show a lot. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because I still think, go see the movie, it'll be really, really good. And people are actually comparing this to The Social Network, which I don't think is fair. Because The Social Network was Facebook, and this is Apple. Yes, they're two big companies, but they are completely different companies, and their founders are completely different people. But I can't wait to see this movie in the theater. August 16th cannot come quick enough. Don't forget to check out the MRTV Facebook page, the Whovians Unite Facebook page, the Real Doctor Who Fans Facebook page, and the newly created DC Cinematic Universe Facebook page. Links to these pages are down below in that box. Go click on these links and show your support for the pages. I'm gonna go, and goodbye.